Hey friends, this is day 13 of Russian war against Ukraine. A lot of things happened today. I wanted to give you updates and what they mean on 5 things. One is Morgan Stanley is predicting that Russia's economy is going to default sometime next month. Major general has been liquidated by Ukrainian reconnaissance team. Just heard that Biden is banning all purchases of oil and natural gas into the United States. So this is awesome. This is going to help a lot. Then we're going to talk about a slip of the propaganda in Zaporizhia region. They've started to pass out flyers that uncover the real plans about Ukraine. And then in the end, I will talk about a few factors why I think Ukraine will win in the end. So number one, Morgan Stanley, there's a man by the name of Simon Weaver. He's a global head of emerging market credit strategy, and he's saying that with the current pace of economic sanctions against Russia, Russia should default on their debts in the middle of April. So as we know, the reserves of central bank that have been held in foreign banks have been frozen. We know that European Union and the United States had forbidden import of their currency, so euros and dollars into Russian markets, which means that they're going to get depleted. People are going to leave with that currency abroad and never come back, which means that Russian banks or Russian companies cannot sell their wares for dollars or buy anything imported for $4 or euros as well, and taking all those things into account, Morgan Stanley is saying that Russia will default on its debts. This is not Russia's first default, actually. The first one happened in 1998, where they couldn't pay up on their debts, and that was a huge hit to their economy. This is good news for Ukraine because this means that their supply lines will get disturbed even more, and which means that things like the huge column that we've seen a few days ago, 40-mile long column, will not be able to move anywhere near Kyiv because they will not be able to provide even fuel for that machinery. Number two, Major General by the last name of Gerasimov was liquidated by a Ukrainian reconnaissance group. We don't know a lot about it, but we know that Major General is a huge position. He was this particular guy was in charge of the 41st Army of Russia. He's been their strategy center for the longest time. This also marks a shift in the casualties that Ukrainian are bringing towards Russian army, because to date we've been only getting privates, people who were maybe in charge of tank brigade or something like that. But major generals, he's not the first one, by the way. Another one was killed a couple of days ago. So we're seeing that Ukrainian reconnaissance groups in conjunction with actually American groups who by this time in New York Times article, it's saying that they're working day and night to capture phone conversations and satellite data, putting them together into intelligible information, passing off to the Ukrainian side, which makes possible such operations as the liquidation of Major General Gerasimov. This is interesting because in Russia, you have to understand, as in most of former Soviet Union countries, the reporting is broken. The corruption is such that they cannot even use a good encrypted system, because the system that was sold into the Russian government, turns out it doesn't work without 4G connection. And Russians, of course, bombed a lot of those 4G towers, so they cannot use it. So they're using regular phones, which means that Ukrainian reconnaissance, American reconnaissance groups, intelligence can intercept what they're talking about, and that's how a lot of this information leaks and makes these operations possible. Kind of pathetic, but maybe in another video I'll tell you a bit more about how that works and how corruption really undermines Russia's military strength. In my previous video, I talked about how Ukraine had really uncovered for the entire world the fact that Russian army is not that strong at all. All right, so just read the news that President Joe Biden is banning import Russian gas and oil. This is huge news because, number one, natural gas and oil is about 50% of Russia's GDP, and exports to the US was about a third of all their exports of gas and oil in general. So this is great because it means that Russian economy will keep shrinking, and hopefully will have an effect on them withdrawing from Ukraine. We're already seeing that Putin had actually withdrawn their their demand of Ukrainian demilitarization and denazification, which means that economic sanctions are having the right effect, which means that quite soon, hopefully, we're praying that it will have an effect where the Russians will be able to, will come to a position that's actually favorable to peace in Ukraine and good resolution to the situation. I'm personally very keen to come back to Ukraine and start rebuilding. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so another interesting thing happened. So in Zaporizhia region, which is, by the way, where that atomic station was and still is, which was captured by Russians, in that region, I think Russian propaganda had a slip, and they started passing out these flyers which said that our mission, as the Russian army, our mission here is to resume the industry, resume normal life, and to connect or include the Zaporizhia region into Russia, into Russian Federation, which nobody's talking about it. Of course, it's not official, but it looks like by this Freudian slip or just slip of propaganda, we're seeing that Russia is trying to play out the same scenario they did in Crimea, which is they will hold a referendum, which will of course show that the Zaporizhia, in this case region, does want to be annexed to Russia, and they're hoping to do this for every region in Ukraine, as is per Putin's words that Ukraine is a fake country and the only thing that Ukraine might own are the Western regions. So we're seeing that the plan there is sinister. They're trying to annex all these regions in Ukraine, including my native Cherkasy region as well. So those guys, the soldiers are not leaving there. They came there to stay and to occupy and to make Ukraine Russian. Finally, why I think Ukraine will win. I'm looking at more and more, former generals, analysts, war specialists who are saying that Ukraine is likely to win this war. And I'm also of the same opinion, and here's why. We're seeing two things happening at the same time. One is that Russia is being more and more isolated, which also means that economic isolation will mean that they will not be able to reinforce their troops, to repair their machinery. We're seeing that their resources are being depleted. Pentagon actually had said yesterday that 100% of the troops that have been assigned to invade Ukraine are already in Ukraine. At the same time, in the last 3 days, they haven't made any headway in Ukraine. Great news, because that means that the tactics that have deployed are not working. They're trying to reinforce, they're trying to quietly mobilize their troops, but that's not really having a significant effect. So we're seeing that Russia's influence, Russia's resources, Russia's economic are shrinking, while Ukraine is experiencing something like Lend-Lease during World War II that FDR signed, as you remember. What's going on with my lights here? Okay. We're going to be in the dark here for a little bit, where the West is continuing to supply Ukraine with machinery, with weapons, with money to keep up the economy. So we're in a much better spot, even though Ukraine started out with much less resources, and Russia was counting on that to be able to invade. But because of this Lend-Lease kind of program, we have more resources. We have endless resources. Even the question with the old Soviet fighter jets is being looks like it's going ahead. We're going to have a superiority in the skies. So this is wonderful news. So we're seeing at the same time Russian resources shrinking, while Ukrainian resources is expanding. So with the help of our friends in the West, this looks like a victory for us. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods. There's still a lot of options that Russians could do. They could ask the the nations to the southeast of Russia to step in, and Belarus as well. They could use nukes. They could start doing what we're doing in Aleppo, which is start annihilating the cities. So as we're seeing Russians become more and more desperate, they will probably try more and more inhumane, devilish, truly things. So, but what we're seeing as far as trends, it's encouraging. And friends, I thank you. Your voice is being heard. I think what happened today with Biden, him banning oil, even though it probably will hurt you. Gas prices are not low as it was. I think I was in California maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think it was like $5 to a gallon. They're probably going to go up, but this is a sacrifice, and the entire Ukrainian people thank you for your sacrifice, because to us this is not just higher prices. To us, it's our lives, it's our cities, it's our future. So I thank you for having an active social position. I know a lot of you are writing to your senators and advocating for Ukraine. It's having an effect. We're seeing that America, even though it was very firm of we will never take part in conflict in Ukraine, their position is softening. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching my videos and spreading them, and I'm hoping it will help a lot of people stay informed about what's going on from Ukrainian standpoint. All right, I'll go figure out what's going on with my lights here. Bye.